This is the Men of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. Today we're talking about career choices and what you choose as a feminine man compared to what a masculine man would be choosing. A couple of months ago, I made a video about how you can actually measure your femininity by how difficult semen retention is for you. Do you manage easily to get to 30 days or to 90 days of semen retention? If you can easily do it, that means that you can easily control your emotions. That is one of the most difficult urges to control. You understand what I mean when I say control your emotions. The better you're able to control your emotions, the more masculine you are, and that will project itself through your body language, through the way you think, through the choices that you make in your everyday life. In general, you will be more masculine. In everything, the more emotionally stable you are. The more emotionally unstable you are, the more you're going to be feminine in every single aspect and category of life, including your career choices. Understand this one. It's absolutely crucial that you do, because I'm talking to a lot of feminine guys when I coach them. Understand that I give out a lot of free coaching sessions these days, and guess what they're talking about? The most feminine guys, I know exactly who they are from their career choices, by how small and puny they think, by choosing careers or things that they want to do that is based upon the emotions. Many of them want to be more in touch with their emotions, because that's what feels right to them. So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about the two things: immediate gratification and long-term big thinking. Which one of these two sound more masculine to you? Exactly. The immediate gratification is the most feminine thing to do and to think about. Okay, immediate gratification, it's all about emotion. It's all about right now. It's feminine. But thinking big and thinking long-term and thinking huge, the bigger you think, the more masculine you are, as long as you understand that it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of people in order for you to achieve those massive, huge goals that you've set for yourself. But it's masculine to think big. Massive. Do you understand? I want you to think big, but I want you to understand that it takes time to get there, and it's going to require investments of your time and perhaps your money, and also the help of other people in order to get there. That's a positive thing. You want to have as much help as possible to get the big things in life, to manage to establish massive abundance in your life. You don't want just one source of income. You want to have multiple sources of income, but if you're masculine, you also understand that let's start out with one and develop it until it is so strong and so powerful and will give us the cash and the experience for us to create source number 2. And then source of income number 3. And then source of income number 4. But it's going to take a few years in order to get that. Because the more shallow those incomes are, the easier it is for those incomes to disappear. But you want to create depth, okay? So there's another aspect of it as well. The more feminine you think about your career choice or about life in general, the more shallow everything is going to be in your life. You're going to have shallow projects, shallow pockets, shallow relationships, shallow everything, because you're not able to trust other people because you yourself can't be trusted. Do you understand? We project onto others what's happening inside very often. If you're masculine, you want to have depth in every single category of life, or in other words, abundance. You want to think big. Not having the best is a problem for us if you're masculine. So let me explain this a little bit better in terms of the semen retention journey as an example. The more you're addicted to porn, the more you're addicted to alcohol, cigarettes, or your emotions, whatever it is that's happening, the more you're addicted to sex or to ejaculation or all those things, the more feminine you are. The more feminine you are, the less ambitions you're going to have. Literally. You're going to think, well, it's not that important for me to get this and this and this and this done. That's a problem, and those problems have come from your addictions, from you not having testosterone levels that are high, from you basically still being a child and still being a little bitch. Do you understand? You're still in that hole, and that's okay. We still love you. We still want to grow with you and help you get out of the ditch. But you got to understand that your femininity is causing you to be in that ditch. And you have to understand that you got to reach out your hand to get the help that you need to get out of that ditch and see the world from a masculine perspective. That's what I'm talking about. I remember I had a client way back who wanted to become more masculine. He wanted to get rid of his porn habit. He wanted to get, to be on the semen retention journey. And as I was coaching him more and more, he was beginning to discover that, I don't want to sell anything. And I don't want to have a business. I just want to play my music. And then hopefully people will like it and then they'll buy. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, masculinity, bro. Seriously. And basically, he ended up quitting on me because we had different perspectives of what masculinity was. And I know what he meant because I've been where he was before. The only problem is that if you get stuck in that femininity mindset throughout your life, you're going to end up being miserable for a long period of time, aka your entire life. Your relationships are going to suck. Your one income stream is probably gonna dry up at some point in time. And I wanna help you to understand through this channel what it means to be masculine in terms of becoming a leader, a business leader. Not just a follower for the rest of your life. I want you to lead. The Men of High Value movement is about leading leaders who are committed to the same cause because they understand what the truth is. Because they understand what freedom is, because they understand what family is all about. And leaders are committed to a cause and they are willing to follow the other leaders that have gone before them so that they can grow bigger themselves in their own businesses and lead thousands of people themselves because they're being led by the people that have the same value system as them and who has got their back. And because they have got their back, everyone has got their backs. Do you understand what I mean? This is what we're creating with the Men of High Value channel. One small step at a time. A lot of my thinking is originated from Robert Kiyosaki. From him explaining the cash flow quadrant in the book that has the exact same name, the Cash Flow Quadrant, which is his second book and the most important one if you want to make changes in your life. There's 4 quadrants. One is employee, then you have self-employed, then you have big business owner on the right-hand side, and investor. On the left-hand side, as an employee or self-employed, you are the system. You are the source of income. The moment you stop working, the income stops and it dries up on you. You are the system. That's feminine. Okay, it's still masculine, right? Because you're doing something, you're working. Okay, the most feminine thing you can do is to remain on welfare for a long period of time and not have a plan to get out of it. That's feminine. Okay, being entitled, having a victim mentality, all of those things is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger among men. Masculinity, yes, you will have some masculinity from actually working and allowing yourself to be led, but you're still feminine if you don't have prospects for in the future leading other people yourself as a business owner and moving towards the right-hand side where passive income is. Femininity is allowing yourself to be led but staying in that position forever. And maybe tap into phase number 2 a little tiny bit because you have a full-time job. However, I want you to massively run through phase number 1 and then massively run through phase number 2 so that you can get to step number 3. Step number 3 being leading others, building a team. I want you to get there. A quick example. I use Looooooong as an example all the time because, hey, he's my best client right now and he's massively producing results on his Instagram. At Looooooong, Louaista. In June last year, he had nothing. He had 500 followers on Instagram. Now, today, 8 months later, he's got 30,000 followers on Instagram, and he just wanted 1,000 on Instagram by New Year's, if at all possible. He was thinking low, he was thinking small, he was thinking puny. But now, today, he's got employees, part-time employees. He started with me in June. But he took the step of allowing himself to be led properly in the beginning. He reached out and wanted help. And then I grabbed his hand and I pulled him out of the ditch because he was willing to invest in himself with me as a coach to get to the next phase in his life. And then he actually led himself, which means that he actually applied the things that I asked him to do. And then he began to see results, and that reinforced his desire to allow himself to be led. And then he kept on leading himself to get better and better and better results. Until a couple of months ago, we got to the point where he had just too much stuff to do. And that's when he began to get employees. And employees that actually produced more money than they cost, which is a good thing. It's a fantastic thing because it's a win-win situation. They get a job, which they want, of course, because they want to survive and they're still in their feminine state, because they need the immediate gratification of having money on their account immediately right now. And because of that, Looooooong now has several sources of income. Each of those guys are bringing in a valuable skill into his business that is producing income. He's not relying on just one of the guys. He has options amongst his employees so that they can together move in the right direction. And if one quits, it's okay. He's got the others. Do you understand? That's how you need to think, that in the future, in 5 years, maximum 10 years time, you will have a lot of multiple streams of income. And if one dries up, you always have the others. Easy. Piece of cake. Masculine. Getting a job is absolutely fantastic if you don't have one right now. However, you've got to get to the next step because job stands for just over broke. But at least you're not broke. But the next step is to get to the point where you actually create jobs. Don't you want to get to that point where instead of you desperately clamoring to try and find a job, you actually now create jobs? That's when you become powerful. That's when you're masculine. That's when you've made it. And it doesn't help if you just create jobs suddenly and then next year or 3 years from now, it all collapses. Masculinity is being able to have a business that's consistent in good times and bad times. No matter what happens, you create businesses that last and that are consistent for a long period of time. The more time goes by in your business, the more trust people have in you to give you more business. Do you understand? Masculinity. Let's say you're in the circumstance of not having a job. That means that you go out there and you get a job. You go out there and you apply for tons of jobs and tons of jobs and tons of jobs and tons of jobs until someone hires you. What have you been doing? What was that process? You went around and you sold your hours to the highest bidder. Okay? Tons of people didn't want you, but then there were some people who said, well, you can get this much per hour and then you have to do these things and these things and these things. You're selling your hours and exchanging them. Nothing wrong with that because we got to pay our bills. However, you're still in the allow yourself to be led phase. That's fine. But eventually you want to come to the point where you begin to sell a product or a service that is independent of your time. You want to get to the point where you can begin to sell visions, sell solutions to problems that rich people or the masses have. Because the moment you do that, you're elevating your masculinity. You're beginning to lead others. You're beginning to lead a team. If you don't know how to sell and you've never learned the skill of selling, you will never, ever be masculine. It is requisite for you to learn sales in order for you to be masculine. There's tons of guys, especially academics, who say, well, I don't want to sell. I don't like selling because that means I'm taking advantage of other people. Not so. As a salesperson, if you're selling something that you believe in, you're actually doing someone a disservice by not offering it to the public. Do you understand? If you know about a product or a service that you absolutely are passionate about and that no one knows about, you are doing them a disservice by not going out there and promoting it. You're simply promoting it and you're saying that it has this value, so if you give that value to me, I'm going to give you that service or product. And then they say yes or no. You're offering them a product, a service, or a vision, a fulfillment of emotions, if you will. You're helping them to get what they want so that you can get what you want. And if you do that with a lot of people are going to give you what you want. And that's going to give you abundance in every single category of life. Which brings me to the topic of college and university. Lately, I've had conversations with young guys who are basically saying, well, I'm stuck in college because my parents. Or I'm stuck in college because, it's good to have something to have as a backup. Insane. College and university is the absolute worst investment, even if it's free, that you could ever do with your time. Ever. If you want to become a doctor, great, go to college. If you want to become an engineer, great, go to college. If you want to do anything that is in the STEM field, great, go to college. However, let's think a little bit bigger than that. If we translate that to, I want a job so that I can have an income and be safe, let's think, what if instead of becoming a doctor, I could set up a medical practice where I hire doctors? And then I can understand all the legalities. I can set up the rooms and buy all the equipment and set up the systems, because doctors don't want to do that crap. They want to be doctors. They don't want to set up all the nitty-gritty. But you will be making passive income from doctors fulfilling their profession and their calling in life of doing good to individuals, so that you can do good to the masses by offering them skilled professionals that take care of their problems. Eventually, you'll be able to set up hospitals, private hospitals, that fulfill the needs of the public. That's just taking it to the masculine side of things. It's great to become a doctor, but if you're not masculine, you're feminine. And the bigger you think, the more masculine you are. The smaller you think, the more feminine you are. Do you understand the drift? Do you understand where I'm going with all this? Same thing with architects, same thing with engineers. Great, you can take those 5 years or 6 years in college to study that stuff. But oh my gosh, imagine if you spent 6 years trying to understand rather how to set up an architectural office with tons of architects. And then you just get a small percentage of all of the sales that you bring in. They fulfill their skill and profession. You go out and you sell their services. You can do that with engineering. You can do that with plumbing. You can do that with anything that you believe in, and set up huge chains of whatever it is that you want to do for the world. I hope that you're getting something out of this. I'm trying to insert masculinity inside your brain because you're still a child. You still think very small. because of the self-esteem issues that you've had over the past, because of the rejection from women, because of the rejection and neglect from your parents, and because of the lack of friends, etc., etc., etc. Understand that if you strive for masculinity in everything that you do, including thinking bigger about your career and what you could potentially accomplish. Man, I'm fired up for you, man. This is absolutely beautiful. What is it that you should be investing your time on? What is it that you should be investing your money into? Is it the stock market when there's a bottom? Or should you actually be focused on investing in yourself and in your own business and the progression of your skills and your leadership so that you can build as many businesses and as many income streams as you desire in the future? That's what I recommend for you guys. You can start now if you've got the right guidance. I'm here for you guys. I'm ready to help you out. Understand that it does take time to set up your own business. Some guys manage to do it really quickly. Like for example with Luaista, who will never ever have a job ever again in his entire life because I taught him my system. And then I've got my 20-year-old friend Ali in Norway, whom I gave basically my transportation business to, who's doing amazing things with it right now, and he just turned 20. And I'm still coaching him, and he's basically come to the point where he will never ever get a full-time job ever again because I helped him make the switch. I want to help you make the switch so that you will never ever need a job ever again in your entire life. Let's get started on your journey. My name is Joseph Darling. This is the Men of High Value channel. Let's conquer the world one day at a time and have each other's backs. I'll see you in the next video.